All right, you groovy, and I do mean groovy grasshoppers. It is that time, a new time for us. Now we've added this show. I think what's the third week we've done this now, Rich?
3 weeks.
3 weeks now. So this is the great Rich Gaberti. I've told the story before, and I will tell it again. I met Rich. He was coaching the Westchester Mariners, a hockey program in Westchester, New York, obviously. And Ryan, my oldest son, was playing. And my best story of him is pretty much sums up this man. We were getting spanked in a game like 9-0. We're at Rye Playland. We finally scored a goal. I'm at one end of the bench. I look down at the other end of the bench. Rich is there. He's taking his shirt off and he's waving it around over his head. And I was thinking, I think I was just getting to know you that time too. And I was like, what the heck have I got myself into here?
I didn't know you.
Fantastic guy. I know I say this to him, and I think it's worth saying all the time, just so you know who he really is. When Rich coaches hockey, he's a terrible hockey player. But he taught himself the game. But more than anything, he wants to coach the game. But I think it's really to help the young men and women really be better people too. And I've said many times over the years, I've had people come up to me and say that they played for you and how much you helped them along. So how you doing there, brother?
I'm doing great. My record at Fordham University is 193 wins and about 50 losses. Okay,
is that right?
You do the math on that.
No, I know you're a big coach.
The hockey player. Look. Listen, here's the problem. You're like a world-class hockey player. So when you guys get together and look at some schmo like me, I'm a bender, right? Or whatever you want to say. And that's okay, because if you play with benders, well, maybe one of them shines once in a while, right?
I was at this national night out on Tuesday night. I think it was Tuesday night out in Long Island, Ridge, New York. And it's a great event. They do it. The police and firefighters put it on. They have all the equipment there for kids. I think the idea is to bring the community closer to the police and firefighters, try to bridge that gap a little bit. And they had the Suffolk County Police hockey team was there. And they said, Tom, you want to come out and play with us? And I said, you guys need to watch the tape. I mean, I'm not that good.
Oh, stop.
I showed up a lot, but I wasn't that good. So
listen, Stan Fischler. You ever hear of him?
Yes, Stan.
Okay.
Amazing.
Stan Fischler said you were one of the top 5 underrated New York Rangers.
I saw that. I saw. I think it was the top 5 underrated captains or something. Was that what it was?
No. Players. Wasn't even captains.
Yeah,
it was players.
I saw that. I was actually at a game. They played that video at Madison Square Garden before the game. My sons were there, and they have no clue really. You know, they're watching the video and they go, "Dad, were you really that good?"
Yeah, well, you're steady. You're consistent.
Yeah,
right. You were consistent. You were steady. You stood up for your teammates.
Yeah.
Right. And yet, and 1 or 2 years, you got 6 goals, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah. My first year, I got 6 goals. And that's when Herbie Brooks came in the second year. And I'm all fired up thinking, okay, I had a good first year. I'm going to have a good second year. And he makes that famous speech the day before our first game that he was going to be coaching. And he says, he goes around to everybody at center ice at Rye Playland. You know, Barry Beck, you're supposed to do this. Ron Greschner, you do this. He goes, Laidlaw, you get the puck, give it to somebody else. You're not supposed to have it.
Wow. Yeah. Glassing out, huh?
That's funny. Yeah, no, you know what? It is funny. Yeah, you look back at your career years later, and I was very proud of myself. I had a presentation I made the other day in front of the NHL Booster Club convention, and they asked me a question. Like I can't remember how it was asked, but basically I said the only regret I really had, or there was advice that you would give to players today, and I said, make sure that you get the most out of your career. Like you go through phases where you're excited to be in the NHL, then you get a little bit complacent, then you realize, geez, I'm not going to be playing forever, and then you pick it up again. And if I was to do anything differently, I just, again, I was proud of myself. I was a captain, assistant captain, players, player awards, all that stuff. But I would get more out of my career. But
well, I mean, if you think about it, though, but how about like the season must drag on? So it's 82 games. I don't know how many it was when you played, but 82 games. That's got to drag on. That's like going on a 9-month world tour, where you're kind of excited when it starts, and then it just takes on a life of its own. And there's ups and downs even on the tour. You know what I'm saying?
John Muckler was a famous coach. Coached Edmonton, Buffalo. People really respected him. I remember him quoted one time saying that if you can get the guys to play at or near their best 75% of the time, then you've done a pretty good job as a coach. That was the target.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And even from period to period, and confidence is a funny thing. I know people say the money the players make now that, geez, they're making millions of dollars. They should be confident in themselves. It's really got nothing to do with the money. It's just you lose your confidence. Actually, that's a good topic that we should discuss, like losing confidence and getting it back again.
Yeah.
Why do you think people lose their confidence? What happens?
Well, they get beat up. Life beats them up, right? I mean, that's the bottom line. Life beats them up, or they beat themselves up. So you can't underestimate drugs and alcohol and the effect that has on it, or gambling, or whatever it might be. And then I think it has to do with self-awareness. I mean, it has to do with anytime it's a catch-22, because anytime I believe my own bullshit, I ease God out and I'm screwed. But at the same time, anytime I let someone else's opinion of me dictate what I'm thinking, well, that's dangerous too. So I have to constantly be self-aware. And now that I've been on this path of trying to, the term enlightenment or whatever, but it's more, I'm trying to educate myself to what's going on with the science of well-being, because I like feeling well, and there's a science to it. So my point is that with self-confidence, you have to believe that a couple of certain key things in your life, and we've talked about it, and you've had other guests on that talk about that filter, or the lack of a filter, from somebody who's an embryo, right to about 8 years old, 7 or 8, whatever that magic number is, where whatever you tell kids, it wires them a certain way. And I was lucky because my grandparents were really the ones who wired me a certain way. My grandfather was just magic. My mother's father, who was an immigrant, a chef. He was a chef of the Vanderbilt family, in
that's right,
like 1920s. Yeah. So, but he was all about positivity. They didn't use the word positivity, but they just said better days ahead. Everything's okay. La salute star, which means take it easy in Italian. And I saw him every day, starting from about 4 on. And I even in grammar school, I walked a block down from St. Clair's where I went. I walked down to Hone Avenue where they lived, and I'd have lunch with him. And he would make Chateaubriand, shrimp scampi. I was like, in first, second grade, I was living large. And, but he was really, now that we start studying the science of it, he was wiring me for that. And then even because life threw some curveballs at me, and but there was always that subconscious, which I didn't even realize what the hell was going on. But in my subconscious mind, there was always better days ahead, and just keep moving forward, and all of that stuff. So
that is amazing, right? Like how you learn more about yourself and it makes you more confident. Like you and I are both on that same kind of journey, where I'm looking back now at those years from 0 to 7, or in the embryo from 7 years old. Some of the things that I did, things that happened to me, the people I was associated. I was the same way as you. Particularly my father and mother, my grandmother and grandfather on my father's side, we all lived pretty much different homes, but all on the farm together. So all I saw was, how honest men they were. How they just showed up to work every day, didn't matter what was going on. And now I look back at myself, like even in the process of writing the book, and I think to myself, and I really mean this seriously. I'm not, I'm not humble. I'm not trying to be humble. I wasn't that great of a player. I just showed up every day. That became my thing. And even at the end of my career, when I couldn't show up every day because my back was hurting, I was so frustrated. I couldn't figure it out. And it wasn't until doing all this stuff that now I can look back and say, well, again, I know why I'm so frustrated. I was taught to be this guy that shows up every day from those years from 0 to 7 years old. And that continued on in my life. And that's how I had successes. And then when I couldn't do it anymore, I totally lost my confidence at the end of my career. And I look back, and that's part of what I regret, is that I would have handled the end of my career better. But I just didn't understand what was going on. I didn't understand why I was so, had no confidence, totally frustrated. We had a great coach in Los Angeles, Cap Rader. Have you ever heard of Cap Rader?
No.
Yeah, great guy. He coached, Rick Wilson was another guy. And he treated me with total respect, Cap did. Very intelligent hockey guy, great assistant coach. And near the end of my career, I couldn't figure things out. I was just so frustrated. We had a meeting, I think it was after practice, where Cap would go over the previous game, show some film, explain, and in this case, I had made a mistake. And he was very nicely, very professionally pointing out the fact that I'd made a mistake. It wasn't a big deal. I lost it. And I snapped at him and I said something totally rude. And this is in front of the whole team. You have Wayne Gretzky, Larry Robinson, Dave Taylor, all these great old players. And they knew that wasn't who I was, but I was just so rude to Cap. And the words were coming out of my mouth and I just couldn't stop. And, within about 5 seconds, I realized what I'd done. Went into the back room, Cap had left. And I said, Cap, I just don't know what to say to you. I'm just not That's totally wrong by me. If you want me to go in front of the team and apologize, I will. But that kind of stuff was, and I'd never done that before with a coach. And it just, that's what I mean. It's like, I know you're the same way. By learning more now about ourselves and the subconscious and those years, those formative years when you're growing up, you just realize why we are the way we are, why we did things the way we did things in the past too. Yeah.
And that could happen at any time. I mean, just the mere fact that we were talking, I think the last time about the kids giving you the finger or cutting you off, or, traffic, road rage, right? Road rage or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I just have to be mindful of it. And that doesn't mean that it's something you got to work on every day, really. Yeah. It's the same way about drugs and alcohol. I mean, I have friends. I have a bunch of friends, people that I've worked with, that every day is a new day for them. And they have to each day say, I'm not going to do this or that day. You know what I'm saying? So, it's one thing. It's when you learn to think this way, when you're made aware of this, of what's available out there as far as for well-being, it's amazing. But, self-confidence, and back when you played, not that it was that long ago, but talking about your issues was really not right. Wasn't acceptable. You know what I'm saying? Right or wrong.
And it's interesting talking to guys, like Larry Melnick, we talk about stuff, James Patrick, there's always, like James, we had an interesting conversation, and he's a really intelligent guy. So is Larry and Gresh and everything. But James and I had a conversation where it was later on in his career. I think I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think he was doubting himself a little bit. And somebody suggested he read this book that really, I think we had the discussion that, a lot of us playing, like, for instance, I was probably my fourth or fifth year, I was put on the All-Star ballot. And that weirded me out. Like, I'm like, I don't belong on the All-Star ballot. Seriously, I remember thinking to myself that, like, people are going to be looking at me like, what's Laidlaw doing on the All-Star ballot? Instead of just being proud of the fact that people thought I was good enough to play in the NHL.
Right.
And I think that was the discussion I had with James, and he'd got some book, and I'll get the name of the book, but it really made a difference in his life too, because he had some of those same kind of thoughts. It's almost like we would respect. I remember this too when I started in the league. Almost respect the other players too much. Like I said, it's good to respect those other players, but don't look at them like they're so much better than you. And I think I had some of those thoughts when I first started too. So.
And that's all stuff. I mean, for me, and I don't remember how exactly I got to that point where in my 20s I picked up a book by Zig Ziglar, and it was a good one because it was Who Motivates the Motivator. And that was a good one because up until that point, I was always doing, whether as a tour manager, a lot of times you have to be a motivator, just to get people to get on stage. Yeah. So it was interesting because it gets exhausting all the time. It gets exhausting. So being there for other people. Okay. Yeah. In other words, if you're there too much for other people and not enough for yourself, that imbalance screws you up. And then I find for myself that then I get upset of a little minutia, only because I haven't spoken how I feel to the people that I'm helping out.
And as much as we tell other people that it's important that you tell other people how you feel and let your feelings get out, it still is a hard thing to do. I think you're the same way, right? As much as I know I should do it more, it still makes me feel uncomfortable. And wrongfully so, it still makes me feel sometimes like people are going to look at me like I'm weak if I start telling my feelings, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, you have to pick and choose, right? I mean, you have to. Yeah, you can't wear your feelings on your sleeve or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You have to find that group of people, and it might only be two or three people that you feel comfortable saying, "Hey, today is a tough day." Whatever, for whatever reason.
You know what else that too? Like I get this belief that if I tell myself it's a tough day, it's going to be a tough day. Like if I'm having a tough day, I want to tell myself, no, just get to work. Like I think I've said the story a few times, but the playoffs, the Rangers flew a whole bunch of fans to Raleigh for Game 5 of the playoffs. And they had Ron Greshner and I go with them. So we flew in right before the game, went right to the game, watched it, went right back to the airport and flew back after. So we're getting home around 2 o'clock in the morning, and I have my 3:30 wake up call. And everybody's like, well, you're not going to get up at 3:30 tomorrow. And I'm going, yes. And I willed myself to believe that I was going to have my best day on an hour and a half of sleep with no nap. And I did. And I really believe I did. Like I went to the gym. So I'm at the gym at like 4:20. So I get home at 2. I should have actually done a video of us getting home at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I really willed myself, and I felt fantastic. And I think, you and I doing this stuff and doing all the True Good Life stuff and your stuff that you got going, I think that's right. It's that belief now willed ourselves, we conditioned ourselves to say, okay, we know that we didn't get enough sleep. Sleeping is an important part. Some people say sleep is maybe the most important part for you. I didn't get enough. That's it. Can't change that. I'm getting up at 3:30. I'm going hard. And it was incredible. I think I was so fired up because I was doing it on an hour and a half of sleep. I think that was the thing, right?
Yeah, but you make it a challenge. I make it a challenge. So you hit the nail on the head. Like some days there's a part of you that says, oh, this is going to be a hard day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And an example for me is I had to get an apartment emptied out. And I mean the whole thing.
Right.
And so I'm waiting for 3 guys. 3 guys are going to come and do it, and I get a call. Oh, they don't feel good.
Oh,
and I find that a lot of people nowadays and whatever, but they go, oh, I'm the guy's coughing on the phone. He goes, I don't know. I don't feel too good. So I wrap my back in one of those neoprene back wraps or whatever, put on a weight belt, get 2 gloves, and I dress like I'm going to the gym.
Right.
And it was like on the 2nd floor. So I had to walk down like 21 steps. I said, well, this is just a workout.
Oh,
and so
nice.
I looked at it as a challenge.
Yeah.
Now, it's hot as hell. I'm sweating. I'm making sure I don't dehydrate. But at the end of it, and I did it in like record time. I'm sure, like, if it was an Olympic event, I would have been the gold medalist. But
yeah.
I did it in record time. I was like proud of myself, and I loaded it up into a truck and then I brought it over. And so the next day they call me up and they go, hey, we're feeling better today. I said, what time do you want us there? I said, no, that's okay. Some guys came and emptied the place out. I got it done. Thank you. But I made it into a challenge. And so it turned it around. Like, in other words, you're proud now of this fact that you didn't have sleep, right? So you got every sleep doctor in America pissed at you.
I know.
But I think statistically, you need sleep.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? But one day isn't going to do anything. Like we could theoretically go and have like 3 cannolis each at Gino's Pastry in the Bronx or something like that today. And, we're not going to die.
We have a sleep expert that follows a lot of our shows. Brendan Duffy, I believe.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Cardinal Hayes High School.
Oh, you know him?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's a great guy.
Mark Puttenvink and I were doing a show one day and we were talking about fighting through not having enough sleep. And I hadn't met Brendan at that point. He starts writing in, and he was very good. He was very polite and professional, but he said, well, here's the science, guys. And so I do believe that the science of sleep importance is accurate. I'm not trying to deny that. I guess it's just I think you're saying the same thing too, is that, okay, you aren't always going to get enough sleep. And on those days, same thing like with me doing this whole air conditioning thing, not using the air conditioning. It's more like getting out of that comfort zone, right? And I just don't feel hot. I think I've willed myself to believe I'm just, okay, it's hot. It's not the end of the world. Like, it's another thing too, is like when it's cold now, we have it, like they call it a polar vortex. They never called it a polar vortex.
They said it was cold.
Yeah, it was cold. So now it's hot. Like that, they've got a heat advisory on. Like, it's hot. Like, sit in the shade, drink water for God's sakes, or drink tequila, whatever you want to do.
So that's why when you cook on the weekends, it's small portions.
Yes.
No one's coming over.
Yeah, it was good. Exactly. It's nice.
I understand it when you make those like the salmon and all that stuff. That's awesome.
It is kind of nice. Yeah, you're left alone because I don't want to go sit in the sweat.
Oh my God! See, when I want to sweat, I go in the infrared sauna. That's it. 45 minutes.
That's pretty healthy, right? You like that?
Yeah, it's real healthy. All of that. You know what? I don't even think it's an alternative medicine as much as it's recovery. So, cryotherapy, going in that, freezing yourself, it activates your fight or flight mechanism in your body, and your body basically turns on the boiler for the freeze. And in the heat, the infrared sauna, you sweat. I mean, I'm in there at 170 degrees for 45 minutes.
So you say infrared sauna. So instead of using the hot coals that they used before or something, it's just infrared.
Yeah, it's UV ray, and the one that I use is called Sunlighten, and it's one of the top 2. As far as that goes, and the reason why is because of the wood that it uses. It's just special wood, and it doesn't break down, and you get all the toxins and whatnot. And then the UV rays are on the safe scale because there are some that aren't safe, and it's probably a little bit more money, but it's worth it. It lasts longer. And I notice, Tom, that all of the gyms or fitness centers or cryotherapy spots that have those kind of saunas, It's either one or two, and it's Sunlight and another company, which I can't think of right now. But anyway, it does everything. I mean, even to the point where for women, it gives them more collagen. I mean, there's so many benefits to it. It's great it's great for circulation. It's great for heart health. It really is spectacular in purifying your body. You sweat out a ton of toxins. I drink filtered water while I'm in there, and if you could find a place that has a shower afterwards, which I have, I go to a place that has a shower afterwards. It's spectacular.
So what do you do? You go in the sauna first, then the cryotherapy, and then shower, or vice?
Well, no, I do. I don't do. There are people that do both the same day. And when I was building one in Westchester County, I would do both the same day. But I'm good with just doing the cryo one day, and then the sauna takes. I mean, pardon me. The sauna takes 3 minutes. I mean, the cryotherapy takes 3 minutes. So you can only freeze for 3 minutes. You need gloves on your hands because your extremities are going to freeze. Believe it or not. And you need them on your feet. So you got to protect your hands and your feet, and you wear shorts because we as guys want to protect.
If you're going in there nude.
Yeah, no, not that. No, you want to cover up.
Big guy.
Yeah, you don't want that to happen. Anyway, so you do that, and you go in for 3 minutes, and somebody should stay. They have to have somebody, a technician, stay in the room. You're in a booth. There's a technician who stays in the room and talks to you. And with the fear being that you don't want anybody to pass out.
So how are they freezing it? It's like a freezer? You're not sitting in an ice bath or something?
No, it's not an ice bath. They pump in cool air. I mean, cold air, refrigerated air. So you're in there in a fog of cold. It's good. Wow. Yeah, it's really good.
Maybe I'll go into the vegetable section at Costco and sit in there for a while.
Well, you could do that, or back in the day, you'd go into where they put the frozen beers, right?
That's right.
The beer freezer.
I did have a job delivering beer after my first year at Northern Michigan University. I got hired to drive the beer truck, and we went into that room. It's all like the broken cases and everything all in there. We weren't in there for cryotherapy though. We were in there for a few cold ones.
Sneaking a couple of beers, But that, so it's like that. It's like going into that beer room without the beer, and it's like 3 times it's really, it's cold. I mean, it's a couple hundred degrees below.
So I guess that's why the people, especially not limited to, but especially in Finland, they're big on going into the sauna, and then they go jump in a cold lake after they're done, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, that and it works. I mean, it does. It invigorates you. There's a guy, Wilhoff. They call him the Iceman.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
He's interesting as hell because he goes into ice ponds and he could be there. I'm going to screw it up, but he's there like maybe 30 seconds a minute underwater. And I could be wrong. Could even be more than that. Oh. I've done his breathing technique. I've done that.
Right.
And towards the end of it, you're holding your breath for about 2 minutes.
Really?
Yeah. It's great.
I've never really tested myself to see how long I could hold my breath.
I'll send you the link. And once again, Tom, it's on Gaia TV, GAIA.com. Spend I think it's $8 or $12. You could afford it.
I'm getting rid of my cable TV. I haven't turned my TV on in 2 months. So I'm paying cable TV. And I was like, what the heck am I doing?
All I watch YouTube, Gaia TV, and what else? I have a Netflix subscription. That's like popcorn.
Yeah. The only thing I'm going to miss, like when football gets started or hockey gets started, that's the only thing I'm going to want to watch. But
but for those years, for those months, there's other packages. There's a bunch of packages.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't see us both like watching TV, especially in your house. I'm not going there. It's too hot. No, I'm only kidding. Oh my God.
It is funny the things now I do. I mean, I know the same way, but like pushing yourself outside that comfort zone, right? Like I'll drive down the highway in the middle of the winter. It'll be 30 degrees and I got the windows open. Actually, there's a young guy working in our condominium complex, really nice young guy. He's starting to work out now and everything. He's going, I just want to be like you, Tom. And I said, well, okay, here, maybe you don't want that. But he saw me driving down the highway one time. He came and saw me after he saw me on the highway. And he goes, I saw you driving down the highway in 95 and you got the windows down. It's 30 degrees outside. Yeah, don't do that. That's
don't do what I do.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God. That's funny stuff. It really is. But speaking about with the self-confidence, how about this? And I know coaching the higher levels that I coached, and when I finally got to Fordham, you could see the momentum swing a lot of times in a game. Is it like that in the pros?
Yeah, they're usually there's pretty much, especially in playoff games where there's more intensity, there's always like a surge. They use the word surge all the time. One team is going to have a surge. There's 2 teams are really evenly matched, one team will be maybe in the offensive zone more, and then once the defensive team gets out of there, now they make a change, and now they have a surge, and then there's a surge. So, yeah. Well, I tell you, the confidence thing. There's sometimes that's the thing at the NHL level for me. Even there's sometimes when I was really confident, if I'm coming out of my zone to make a pass, like I felt like I could pinpoint pass where, like maybe I passed into a guy that's kind of covered. But I thought, okay, I was going to be able to, so confident I was going to pass it right where I had to pass it, that I was going to get it done. There'll be other times where I'm coming to my zone and I'm thinking, I'm going to bank it off the boards because I wasn't feeling it. But it's amazing though, too, like we were talking. And you're right. I even notice that now with myself with confidence, where if somebody says something to me that's derogatory or I'm doubting, even now through all this stuff, there's this maybe a second there where I go, I'm doubting myself. But I feel like I'm more able to now say, hey, stop that. You're not what that person says, or you are better. You have trained yourself. You have lived outside the comfort zone. But when I was playing, there's sometimes where it went for, it could be a period, could be a game, could be a week, where, you lose your confidence. And there is those ebbs and flows during the game, yeah.
But then do you look at what's going on in your life at that time?
During the hockey game?
Well, no, I don't mean it that way. I mean, in other words, here you are, you're playing this high level game, okay, which is your job and it's your business. So it's your livelihood, right? And at the time, let's say maybe you're married, you got kids or whatever is going on there. And then let's face it, we weren't all drinking tea back then. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that's going on. We're a 82 game season with a bunch of guys on the road.
Yep.
I mean, there's got to be a couple of nights there where whatever happens to a bunch, a couple of you, all of you, whatever. And then the next day it's like, oh God, morning skate, whatever.
That was a good point. So the culture was back then, the team provided the beer for you too. They had beer on the bus, beer on the plane, beer in the locker room. That was the culture. It wasn't as much about the beer as about pulling the guys together. And it did. Like it was, if you weren't a guy that hung out with the team and had beers, you're really kind of alienated. It was like almost expected. Two really nice young players came in. Kelly Miller and Mike Ridley came in back mid 80s. And we went out to a place, ordered Reskies after the game in the city, a place we'd go to all the time.
Sure.
And they ordered a glass of milk each. We were outraged. I remember thinking, what the heck is these guys ordered milk? How dare they not drink beer? It was, but the thing was too that, and on the road, the guys would all go together. And sometimes we would break curfews. Right? If guys say they didn't break curfews, they're full of crap. They did.
Yeah, right.
And I did. And I'm not proud of it, but it was. But because we all went together, there's kind of like that unwritten rule, like, hey, I know what you did last night, and I know what you did last night. So we better work our rear end off here. Like it's almost like it pushed us, the same thing as missing sleep. It pushed us to play harder because we said, okay, we did it last night, and there's no hiding it. It wasn't like there was one guy out by himself at some bar. It was the whole 20 guys together. So we better get to work. And if a guy didn't work hard because he was hungover out drinking before, it just didn't happen. It was guys they knew that was that was the taboo. You don't do that.
Right, right. So you never overindulge so that it cost the entire team.
Oh, I didn't say we didn't. I didn't say we didn't overindulge.
Okay,
we overindulge sometimes.
So you overcame the overindulgence, is what you're saying.
I got it.
So the show must go on.
Yeah, it's like that. Get up in the morning and realize, oh God, I had a lot last night. But we're going hard. We're going hard here today because everybody knows. And for me, that's kind of what that's really what I became. So I was that assistant captain, and guys, as the years went on, would come to me and say, "Listen, Tom, everybody tells me I'm supposed to go with you for a beer. That's who I have become. I was that beer drinking assistant captain, show up every day kind of guy, and that's what it became. And I told the story after that. Even when my career ended, I got in the Asian business, I still felt like I was that same guy. So players that I was now representing, young kids were calling me like 11 o'clock at night. And, I've had 6, 8, 10 beers. That's the same way I lived my life all along. And that really scared me because I wake up the next morning thinking to myself, okay, what did I say did I say something wrong? Was I mumbling? Can I remember everything? All these thoughts are going through my head. And now I start thinking to myself, probably for the last 15 years, it's almost like pretty much almost every day, at least had a couple of beers. That was my life. It was a hockey playing guy driving the pickup truck, drinking beer. And so that's when I quit drinking for 5 years because I didn't intend to necessarily. I just said, okay, I'm just going to drink on weekends or whatever. And it eventually became 5 years. And one of the funny things about it was when I stopped drinking, I was more one of my big concerns was what was everybody going to think of me because I wasn't drinking anymore.
Ooh.
And I was like, I look back at it now and I was like, well, first of all, nobody cared, because if they were drinking, they just went ahead and did their drinking. And why would I care what they thought because I wasn't drinking? But I think I'd gotten that mindset where that was part of who I was, that assistant captain, truck driving, hockey playing, beer drinking.
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah.
All right. I got a quick NHL story when I hung out when I played with the NHL. Anyway, real quick. So Aerosmith, we are playing Buffalo. We're in Buffalo. We're playing Buffalo, and it's in 1982. The exact date, you could look it up on a schedule, whatever. But we check in. All of a sudden, I hear the lead singer, Steven, screaming, "Richie, come here, come quick!" And he was in the hallway, right? So I open the door, I run out, because that's my bread and butter there. I can't sing. I'm a kid from the Bronx. I'm just here I'm supposed to be taking care of him. Anyway, he's by the ice machine. He goes, "Punch this guy in the face." And I look at this guy, right? And he's holding a big thing of ice, and he's got a towel on. That's it. So I could see he's in shape. He's a little, like an inch or two shorter than me, and a little skinnier, whatever. So I said, I don't feel like doing that. I said, "Steven, what's the matter? Please go in your room. Go in your room." So I look at the guy. I says, "Well, what's going on?" He goes, so he calls Steven a derogatory term, and I said, "Yeah, well, you may be right." I looked at him, I said, I was in no mood to fight anybody. You may be right. So he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "So do you want to go?" And I said, "Huh?" So long story short, I said, "Look, if you want, I got beers in my refrigerator. I got a couple of my security guys coming over. Come on over, have a couple of beers." I said, "Who are you here with?" He goes, "I'm here with the Chicago Blackhawks."
Oh, really?
They were in town to play Buffalo, right? It's a guy named Tim Higgins.
Oh, I know Higgins. Yeah. Oh,
great guy. Tim Higgins. Yeah. He had a good year too. Anyway, I think Magnuson was the coach at the time. Tony Esposito was the goalie, rest his soul.
Yeah.
Anyway, so next thing you know, like about an hour later, the hotel was silly enough to put Aerosmith on the same floor as the Chicago Blackhawks, if you can imagine that.
That's
right?
funny. That's good.
So story. Everybody now is in my. I had a suite because I was the tour manager. Everybody's in the room. We had beer. We're drinking with the Chicago Blackhawks. The guitar player comes around and he starts wrestling with Timmy, Higgins. And I just said, "Please don't hurt these guys."
Oh, that's a good story. That's good.
We hung out all night. They were good guys.
Here's a good question from Danny. Did all the drinking define you guys as alcoholics? Looking back at it now, I would say that pretty much every guy that played in the NHL at that time. That's not fair to say.
That's not fair.
Yeah, that's terrible.
A large percentage. Percentage, perhaps
drinking,
could have been.
We did back then would define us as alcoholics, yes, and I'll say that about myself. I don't feel like I am. Like now, like I said, I quit for 5 years. I'm a teetotaler now. I have a couple drinks now, and I fall asleep out in my back deck. But yeah, I mean I know there's some teams that they've had a lot of their alumni guys have had a lot of problems where, the bees. I think it's a well-known story. Like Paul Holmgren had a fantastic career. I don't know if he's still involved with the Flyers now or not, but he was coach, general manager, president, and he had an alcohol issue. Has cured himself now, or he's not drinking anymore. And I think he really went out his way to help a lot of the former alumni that were the same way. They were really involved. That group in the 70s, the Broad Street Bullies were famous for all getting together. There was a real bond there. And again, that was kind of glorified. I mean, that's why they won. They were all sticking up for each other, all bonded together. So there's guys now like back that played in the 70s, 80s, 90s that I hear stories that are, still are in need of help. Here's a lovely woman that is asking a question. Alicia, what would you advise to the next generation of hockey players with regards to alcohol drinking? Listen, to say for a young man that you're not going to drink, I mean, ideally you would like to say don't drink, but I don't think that's realistic, right? I mean, guys go out and have a few beers together. I don't think the guys do the same thing now. I think they're much more aware of their bodies. I have heard again. I was going to say there's other things they're doing now that aren't very good for them either. But I guess I put it this way, Alicia. It's a great question. First of all, I know for me, like when I turned pro, I was just so excited to play in the National Hockey League. At the whole thing, all of it, the playing, the beer drinking with the guys. If somebody had told me, Tom, you shouldn't be drinking, I'd say, well, okay, well, yeah, but I mean, like I look back at it, and again, I'm not proud to be, but you know what, it's not like I'm ashamed of it, because that was the atmosphere then, that was the culture then. It was, that's to be a good team player back then. That was part of it. It was sitting around drinking beers with boys. I guess ideally you'd say to them, don't drink, but I think it's more, okay, go ahead and have your fun, but make sure that you, like I said before, that you're really getting the most out of your career. And if you feel like, okay, if I have too many beers the night before, I'm not going to be able to play my best tomorrow, then you shouldn't have too many beers. It's like, instead of having like 10 beers or 12 beers, have your 6 beers or whatever. Be with the guys, be a team player, but take a look and think to yourself, okay, I want to prepare myself to be my best player possible tomorrow night, and whatever you have to do that. That's my biggest thing.
I having coached kids, college guys who are going into the job world or whatever world they might be going into, but during that time that they're playing the 4 years of college hockey, I would give them a speech. I would talk to them the first weekend on a Saturday at a team lunch, and I would let them know that, you know what, I toured with Aerosmith, Motley Crue, Bon Jovi, Def Leppard, all those bands, right? And everybody basically did drugs and alcohol. And the bottom line, though, is now as I'm here, into my 60s, not cool. It wasn't cool, and it really isn't the way to go through life, medicating yourself. And a lot of people call it anesthesia. When you go and get an operation on your head, let's say, they give you anesthesia, right? That's what drugs and alcohol are. So I also came to believe, and I was lucky with Aerosmith, because we came to a point in about 1985 where we said, if we keep doing this, predominantly the guys in the band, people are going to die, and the careers are going to be ended, and this whole gravy train is going to stop. It's going to derail. So everybody, and it's documented. I'm not talking out of school, but the lead singer went first because everybody thought he had the problem. But next thing you know, we all went to a place called Chit Chats, and we had like family weekend and family week we would do, and all of these things that taught you that it's a disease. It really is a disease, and you really don't get cured. You just stop. It interferes the recovery. That's why the science of well-being will interfere with negativity, okay? Because once you become aware that's not the best in your best interest to do these things, it kind of ruins the drinking or the alcohol or the drugging or the negativity to it. So it's a disease. You don't get cured, but you can. And I do believe in that, all of those lines, a day at a time or whatever. You can help yourself. And look, you feel, you know what, I'll speak for myself. I feel spectacular. I feel much better. And that doesn't mean every day is a great day, Tom. You know what I'm saying? But it definitely is a great alternative to drinking half a bottle of Don Julio, 8 beers or whatever it might be. I was always fooling myself. I said, if I drink clear, if you drink clear alcohol, like gin, vodka, tequila, well, you don't get that hangover the next day because there's none of the colors. If you drink Jameson or stuff like that, you're going to get a tremendous hangover. So you trick yourself, right?
Oh, totally. That's the worst thing. That's the worst thing when you don't get a hangover. Then you think, well, okay, then I'll do it again tonight.
Yeah, I mean, there are actually pills now because when you drink alcohol, it produces acetaldehyde in your brain. So there are pills you could take that counteract the acetaldehyde, and it's actually called hangover relief. Or booze mulligan, right? Say
that again. What happens with the drinking? Why I get the hangover? What is it?
It produces something called acetaldehyde. Now, I'm not a scientist, but I in talking to a couple of them, anyway, acetaldehyde, and that is what gives you a headache. And and I'm not even going to go into the product because I don't want to promote drinking and then the next day recovering. But the acetaldehyde, there are products out there that'll remove the acetaldehyde from your brain, and my buddy actually is one of the guys who invented it. And it's interesting. It really is. But I feel in talking to or meeting a couple of the younger guys, I think everybody is much more health conscious. I think that they're taking. I would hope they're really focusing on legal supplements and the proper kind of supplements. There's a ton of supplements that they can do. There's a ton of things that they can do for recovery, including those compression boots, including infrared sauna. I mean, if I was an athlete today. And I think LeBron James has it. I would get a cryotherapy chamber, and I think he has one in his house. I would get an infrared sauna in my house, and I would get a I would get the Normatec boots, the compression boots.
Right.
Incredible how it moves the lactic acid out, Tom.
And I know a lot of athletes now already have their own private dietitians that cook all their meals for them and everything, so they're always eating healthy.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Look at the money that everybody's making. Totally. I mean, not that, you know, in the same tone. I mean, you guys were making good money for what money was back then for the cost of it. But I mean, these guys are making astronomical money.
Yeah. My first year in the NHL, I had a $25,000 signing bonus and $60,000 salary at the NHL level. 1988.
But that was 1980, right?
Yeah.
But so people that were graduating college back then were making $25,000 as insurance salesmen or whatever the hell they were doing. You know,
I'll never forget when I got that $25,000 check. I thought I was a cat's ass, right? I was like, I remember I bought myself a Camaro Z28.
There you go.
I spent like $8,000 on it or something like that. I can't remember what it was. Oh man, and I was terrible. I was so bad with money. Like I bought the Camaro Z28, had it for a year. You know, walked into a dealership and said, I want that Jeep over there. They told me what price was. I didn't negotiate. I didn't
ripped you off. Yeah. I when I started with Aerosmith, I bought a Corvette. I bought a brand new Corvette. I went to Burns Brothers Chevrolet up in wherever the hell it was, Valhalla or wherever up in Westchester County. Bought the Corvette right on the floor of the thing. I drove it home. I put 1,000 miles on it, and then I went on tour for 9 months.
Oh, that's all right.
Left it in my parents' garage. Didn't know anything about moving the tires, rotating the tires, starting the car up. Nothing. I came back. The tires were like blocks. You know, they had stayed in one place or whatever. And the engine, forget it. It was a disaster. And it was brand new, 1,000-mile car. But anyway, yeah, I can relate to that. Yeah.
Here's a good question. Please talk about concussions. Think about Pavs being Mark Pavelich, Demons. Rest in peace, Mark. And I agree with you. Rest in peace, Mark. You know, he was a fantastic guy. I've been interviewed a few times about him, and he was great memories. He was a totally different guy from everybody else, not in a bad way at all. Just a real hard worker, a courageous player on the ice too. So particularly Barry Beck, really, when Pav got in trouble, he went after one of his neighbors and got arrested, and then they deemed him unfit to stand trial, mentally unfit to stand trial. And there's no proof of it, although it made sense that he had concussions and possibly had CTE, the brain damage, and that it affected him. And that's made decisions. Again, there's no proof of that. No proof it wasn't from that. But with the concussions in general, so I think a lot of people have the impression that you have to get hit in the head to get a concussion. You do not. Your brain floats around inside your skull, and you go hit somebody, and your brain bounces, like the whiplash effect, and your brain bounces off your skull, and that causes brain damage. And Boomer Esiason was getting interviewed or he's doing his radio show in the morning probably 4 years ago, and they got into the discussion of CTE, the brain damage, and he just matter-of-factly said, well, I just assume I have CTE. And the other hosts and everything around the show were kind of shocked, like, really? Like, and especially the way he said it, it's just, yeah, I assume I have. So I think, and this is not to take away from what happened to Mark, I think most athletes that play that collision sports like football and hockey in particular are going to have some form of brain damage. I think it's like I feel like I have brain damage, no question. But as we were talking, I think there's a lot of things we can do to help prevent the damage or the what happens to you after you have the CTE. And I think the intermittent fasting, where you regenerate the cells in your brain and your body through autophagy, eating properly, exercising your mind, exercising your body. I think a lot of all those things can really help prevent, the side effects of CTE. I had a woman one time a few years ago said, well, Tom, you should go get your brain tested. Well, I think, well, okay, well, if they find out I get brain damage, I'm pretty sure I do. What are you going to do? You're not going to give me a new brain, right? So why am I going to bother finding out? So I don't know what you think about that, Mitch.
Well, I mean, concussions. Look, my own son got a very bad concussion in sophomore year of high school, and that really he battled it for a long, long time, because back then, and that was in early 2000s, got hit into the goal post by somebody running the goalie. He was a goaltender, and boy, that changed the trajectory of his life and everybody's life that loved and cared for him, because he did have he had a pretty healthy jolt. So I have done a lot of work with the NYU, the Langone School of Medical Science. They have a whole concussion protocol, and they're very active with USA Hockey, which obviously you and I both have spoken at events for the USA Hockey. So they've been fantastic, and now it's awareness. I think the big difference now is awareness, because you want to get away from that concussion syndrome and look at all of the people that actually take their lives partially contributed to concussions. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's been some phenomenal human beings that we've lost because of concussions. And I also heard studies, Tom, that the helmets now, both hockey and football, are made to protect, or a lot of the equipment is made to protect, but in reality, it at times it's hurting. It's detrimental to
shoulder pads, elbow pads in particular. Yep.
So it's tough. It really is something that we're more aware of. Guys can talk now about it. I have a concussion, right? Back in the old days, a lot of people, even maybe nowadays, some guys try to hide that stuff.
Yeah.
I know that if you get hit hard, right, in the NHL or even in other levels of hockey, they pull you out for a second, right? The whole
spotters at the NHL games, that they feel like the player's been dinged up a little bit. It happened to Shesterkin past season. And he was mad. The trainer got called down. The trainer had to go on the ice and explain to him that he needed to get off the ice. It was in the middle of a big game too, and he was mad, right? Because he didn't want to come out at all. Man.
Yeah, I mean, my son is one of those e-bugs, the emergency goaltenders at Madison Square Garden. So I mean, whenever something happens to the goalies, they dress him up and whatever happens, he's there so that there's not an empty net. But there's a bunch of guys like that. But yeah, the concussions now, and even in society now, college level, high school level, even baseball guys get hit in the helmet, right? That's a concussion, and you hit it on the head. Doesn't have to be head-to-head contact, although that's obviously very bad. It could be against the boards. It could be in football, hitting the ground.
Yeah, somebody wrote a note here. I can't remember where it was. So Danny Erickson did the Brett Lindros. Was it Brett or was his brother Eric?
Well, Eric had.
Yeah, because of the fell, Brett wasn't a hit to the head. He got hit, I think, by somebody. And there was a Ranger defenseman, too. There's a pretty good player a few years ago. Same thing. He got hit, just a regular hit.
Against the boards. Yeah. That wasn't Sauer, was it?
It might have been, yes.
I think it was Sauer, and I think I forgot who the guy was. The guy was hit. Dion Phaneuf, right.
Yeah. And never played again. I never played a game after that, too, yeah. So.
There's a lot of guys like that. I know in college, for me, there were a couple of times that our defenseman – twice our defenseman pushed somebody in front of the crease into our goaltender, and they got the goalies got concussions and never played again. At the younger levels now, if you're not making money or whatever, guys are saying the hell with it, and they quit. And it's not even quit. I think quit's the wrong word. They just medically don't feel they're fit to play, or the doctors don't, or their family or whatever. It's a smart decision, because if you're going to college, and you're in the school of business, well, then you're shooting for a whole different.
Yeah, it is. I'm listening to you, and I'm just thinking too about how it's changed over the years. When I played, and again, this is just my story. Lots of guys went through the same stuff. We were playing a playoff game, and Bob Nystrom gave me the forearm shiver late in the game, and he was mad. And I'd spent the night in the hospital, and then it was a playoff series, so we were going to play 2 nights later. We had the day off, so I spent the night in the hospital. Came out, went to practice the next morning. Didn't practice, but then played the next game. And I don't remember it like no trainers, tried to hide it. It's just we never even talked about concussions. It was like, okay, you got knocked out. But like now, it's all this education about it, what it does, and everything. And again, nobody forced me to do anything. Nobody tried to hide anything from me. It's just, okay, Tommy, I don't even remember having a conversation. Tommy, able to play? It was okay. I'm coming to the rink, and again. Everybody was like that. All the players, unless they had some symptoms that from the concussion where they couldn't play, but it was just a given. It was almost like, well, you didn't break your arm. It's not like your eyes popping out of your head or something like that. You had a concussion. You're fine now. Let's go play. You still had a headache or whatever, and now and rightfully so. The guys are all well aware of what concussion. But you mentioned before, it still is. Players will still try to hide it. They want to play. Right. Most guys like to come out and say, to go to the trainer and say, I think I've got a concussion. I can't play. It's just it's contrary to how hockey players think. Yeah,
it's tough. And then there's a doctor. I think his name is Amen, Daniel Damon. He's an expert on recovering from brain damage. And there's guys like that really we have to listen to. It's important. It's even important on the youth hockey level, like youth hockey, youth football. I forgot what college it was, but they actually couldn't get enough guys to. They almost don't have enough guys to field football teams on the college level, like a school like Princeton or Harvard or Yale or whatever it might be, because people understand the damage that could be done with concussions. Yeah. And those guys at those schools are on a different track, let's say, you know what I mean? They're I guess they're not going to go to the NFL or whatever. And they don't want to hurt their earning power.
There's even been some NFL players that, you know, partway through their careers, just, you know, not necessarily even hurt, but they've had concussions, recovered, and think to themselves, I'm not going to go through that again.
Yeah.
If you think about it too, it's smart thinking, because it's easy to just be in the moment when you're an athlete. You're playing in the National Football League, the NHL, you're making lots of money, all the adulations, your dream come true. You're not thinking about what's going to happen to you when you're 50 and 60 years old. I remember there's Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City. They went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. The game before the Super Bowl, he got knocked out.
Yep.
Yeah, remember?
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, I know he's going to play the Super Bowl, but nobody in his circle of friends is saying to him, Patrick, are you aware of what's going to be like for you when you're 50 or 60 years old? You can just be guaranteed that nobody's saying that to him, right? The team's not saying it to him, because it's just not. They wanted Patrick Mahomes, and I get it. They wanted Patrick Mahomes playing the game, but is that really what's best thing for Patrick? Was he fully recovered? What's the damage going to be like, you know, when he's 50, 60 years old? You see some old athletes now, they're a mess. So,
I mean, think about it. I remember when we were 20, 25 years old, were we thinking about this age?
God, no. Isn't that true?
I mean, you know, anybody. I mean, the things I did in my 20s and 30s, oh my God.
Yeah.
And I never thought I'd be at this age doing basically still in the gym, still trying to stay in shape, still working out. And now just more mindful about all the crap that I throw into my body. You know what I'm saying? And also the recovery now. Just trying, I guess it's almost like I'm trying to cheat in a healthy way, the aging.
Well, I know you say it that way, cheating, and I hear where I say it, but it's almost, I just feel like so many other people, I had this conversation with somebody, so many other people are getting into that cycle of, okay, I'm supposed to go get a checkup now. And I'm not saying don't get checkups at doctors. I'm not saying that. But they get caught in this cycle of, they go to the checkup, the doctor prescribes medication for them. Now something else, they can't eat something else, and it's all medication. It's doctor's visits and medications, as opposed. And again, I want to be careful. I'm not saying to people, you know, skip the important tests that you're supposed to get done. I'm just saying there's so many healthier foods you can eat and a lifestyle that you can have where you don't need the medication, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't take any. I had some 2 cysts that were in my head that I had to get taken out, and they were starting to get bigger, and they're like pilar cysts or whatever they call them. And I went to the doctor, and the doctor's cool. He's a young. When you go to it was a guy probably no more than 30 years old, okay, and he looked like a surfer, and he was a cool dude, you know. And hey, how's it going, man? Oh, cool, dude. Yeah. He goes, you want me to numb it? I said, no, I don't want anything.
Oh, nice.
I got video. I'll send you the video. I'm just sitting there. I'm holding on to my hands, like, trying to act cool, you know, but you could feel it. And then afterwards, I just took Advil, you know, because I don't need any of that stuff.
I know.
I'm afraid of it. I'm too afraid of myself. You know what I mean? Because
I had when I was in college, way up at Northern Michigan University, we had a doctor who liked to have a few cocktails during the game. So if you ever had to get stitched up, like later, like the third period or something, he'd ask you if you wanted the freezing. You did not want the extra needle in there, so you just sucked it up, because, you know, he's sewn up around your eye and you're smelling the booze coming out of his breath. It was funny.
What do you think's worse? What do you think is worse? Going out and having drinks with the pilot, and you're going to fly the next day, or getting stitched up by the doctor who's had a couple of drinks while you've been playing?
Yes, well, that's a good one. I don't have to think about that one. Yeah. So our friend here, Alicia, and I heard about this. She's writing us a note. I'm right now in the hospital room with a light bleed inside my head from a fall. I heard about this, Alicia, and I heard you made a courageous effort to get to the ball, but you kind of didn't think of your safety.
Oh God! Yeah. God bless her. God bless her. Oh my God. Yeah. Right. She's gonna have to wear a helmet. You know what we'll do? We'll give her a True Grit helmet. We should get that stickers and put it on a hockey helmet or something.
I gotta love the fact that she dove after the ball too, right into the wall.
Yeah, well, right? You know, people get a little crazy. Yeah.
Good job, Alicia. Seriously, I'm proud of you. I mean, I'm not happy that she got hurt. I'm not saying that, but that says a lot about who you are.
You're a battler. Oh my God. God bless her.
So I got the saying. So it applies to her too. I posted today. One of my posts was like this great saying I love so much. It says, "When you're be brave when you're scared, be strong when you're weak, and be a badass every day."
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's Alicia right there.
Yeah, that one, and I Am the Storm. I like those.
Yeah. Oh, I love
got,
that one. Where did I
yeah.
first hear that one? So fate whispered to the warrior, "You
Yep.
cannot withstand the storm." The warrior whispered back, "I am the storm." I think
Yeah.
I saw a poster of that one time.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh man, I like that."
My one of my favorite quotes is Anonymous has the best sayings.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah. Anonymous has the best sayings. Those because those are the ones you could steal.
Yeah, that's right.
But hey, listen, Tom, let me interrupt you 1 second. You know what? Anybody listening, please hit the subscribe button. Okay. We have to, once we put it on. But anyway, if you can, subscribe to the channel and keep up to date with what's going on and spread the word that we are on just about everything. That Tom and I are certainly on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. The YouTube channel has a bunch of great stuff. So if you can, let's start spreading the word. And we appreciate all of the comments and questions. Everybody keeps us going here, and it's fantastic.
Definitely, if people see my new videos I've been posting, this man is responsible for it. Rich Gaverty here. It's like coming back into my life there and saying, "Tom, there's some other stuff you can do than what you've been doing for the last 5 years the same way." So we picked up.
Well, I like the effort, though. Listen, I like the effort because you know what, you're out there and you're inspiring. I mean, you're inspiring people, and you know you're up at 343 or certainly posting around 343 or thereafter, and it's good stuff. I mean, it's consistency, right? You're doing this the same way you did your playing career.
Yeah.
No, the other thing I wanted to mention is that it's truegrit.com or True Grit Life. TrueGritLife.com. So go to Tom. You really got to go to Tom's website because it's very educational and it's enlightening, and there's a lot of things that he's doing that are very beneficial. And he didn't ask me to say that. I just want to pump his, what do they call it? Yeah, pump your tires a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, you know, the one thing, like I didn't know where this all was going to go. I don't know how you felt when you first started your stuff.
Yeah.
But for me, it's become very rewarding because people are coming to me and say, "Tom, you're inspiring me," and everything. And it inspires me more when that happens, right? To just, you know, keep on going, keep on doing it all the time. So again,
well, it's true. Listen, Tom, the more you give, the more you get, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and anything we talk about, we didn't, you know, these aren't things we made up. I mean, these are things that we either have listened to subconsciously, consciously, whatever, but it works. It's true. It really does, you know.
Yeah, tell me, we were talking before the show. What's the guy's name that was in the hospital, was told he was paralyzed, and then willed himself to walk again?
Joe Dispenza.
That's
what. So now, here's actually the fact. So I had said here, the fact checker, like as if I'm Donald Trump here. So he didn't get hit by a car. I was incorrect. He got hit by a semi truck. Okay, riding a bicycle in a marathon. Okay, somebody told him like make a left instead of a right, and boom, he gets hit. It paralyzes him. He's laying in bed. They say he'll never walk again. He might never ever like get out of bed, let's say. And he believed, and he was a chiropractor, a doctor of chiropractic science. Anyway, so he believed that his mind could rewire himself. And he believed it. And they say, if you believe it, you're halfway there. And then he worked on doing it. And he walks around now and he talks to millions and millions of people.
Right.
And he's amazing. And he actually has meditations. He does, there's some, he teaches you how to rewire your brain, which I'm just starting to get into because there's a couple of things here that I think have gotten disconnected over the years that need to be fixed, spliced together. With
you know, if you had said that to me 5 years ago, I would not have believed you.
Me too.
It's almost an unbelievable story, right? But I do believe in the power of the mind more and more now. Again, it's that education, right? Learning things, experiences like that. And there's been a lot of times where, you know, like there's military personnel, they get hurt or whatever, and it's like these unbelievable injuries, and they just, you know, they will themselves to it. And I think it's the opposite way too. That when something happens to people, they just kind of give up on things, right? Instead of saying, "No, I'm going to fight this." You know? So,
yeah. You know, it's funny you say that because I always, as you know, I preach cryo, sauna, and the compression boots, and I've always recommended them to players. And I went with one of the players and put him in the cryo in the compression boots, and he was negative the entire time, just negative. And guess what? Didn't work, right?
Yeah.
But everybody else, as long as you just have a little bit of an opening there, just a little bit of the ability to believe. It can work. It really can. You know,
we had a trainer when I first started. I feel bad. Nice older gentleman. And if you ever got hit in the foot with a shot or something like that and it was going to swell up, he said he had this magic black gel or whatever, and he would wrap it around your ankle, and then he'd wrap it with a wrapping. And he said, I'm telling you, this has worked over and over. This is going to stop the swelling. I'm thinking back, this is just coming to my head. I'm thinking back more and more now. He was just convincing us that it was going to work, and it worked. It's probably more the wrap kept the swelling down. But because he had this, he convinced us that he had this. He's an older gentleman, respectable guy, and everything.
Yeah.
Talked about how I used this with NHL players for years, and it's always worked. Next day you come in, it's all healed.
Yeah.
That's funny. Oh.
Yeah, who's to say, right? It's fantastic. Or crystals. People believe in crystals. Who am I to say that they don't work?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
You know, so the crystals, energy healers. There are people that put magnets on you. So if your shoulder hurts, you put these magnets, and I think they're red and they're black, and the way you put them on, you know, they study what's wrong with you, and then they put them on a certain way.
Yeah.
Who am I to say, or who are we to say, right?
I agree totally. I do believe it's your mind, right? If you're telling yourself, and I think it's that training yourself to get your mind to that point too, right? It's not just, you can't just all of a sudden show up and say, oh, okay, I think positively. You have to, put yourself outside your comfort zone, like the cold showers, all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Constantly be finding ways like to just not settle. And it's not limited to, but I think it's people, especially as they get older, I think they're told, like if you watch TV now, all these medications for people over 60 years old, and doctors telling you that your good body's falling apart. It's just not true. You just fight through it. So.
And all I do to motivate myself for that is I look at what the precautions are. So, so if you're suicidal, take this pill, but there's a chance of suicide.
Yeah.
Like what's the
your eyeballs are going to pop out? No, it's got that is funny. Somebody did a parody on that. I can't remember where I saw it, where a bunch of kids did, okay, take this medication. They went on for like 15 minutes of all the other symptoms that we've got, other things that are going to happen.
Oh yeah. The symptoms are scarier than what you're taking it for.
Yeah, definitely.
So why bother?
Yeah. Hey, great show. Again, we want to remind everybody that this new emergency number 988, is that a suicide line, or is that
suicide? That's a suicide hotline that replaces the suicide hotline number. So 988, any problems with suicide,
so if it's yourself, if you're thinking of hurting yourself at all, it's 988 that you can call. If you think somebody else around you is certain, and we've talked about this before, and I think it's worth talking about every time we're on the show. If you feel like somebody else is in need, let's reach out to other people. Ask them if they're okay. Sit and talk to them for 5 minutes. I think the more and more we all pull together, hear so much about, the country being so divided over politics and all that kind of stuff. First of all, I think that's part of it, but we've talked about this before too, where I just think this is a fantastic country. And people say, well, geez, we're going through all these terrible times. We've been through tough times before: wars, depressions, lots of stuff's going on in this country, and the country's always survived. But we have to pull together more, help each other more. And again, it's a fantastic country, fantastic people doing fantastic things all the time. We hear about all the bad stuff, and it looks bad. There's racism. Yes, there is all that. But there's so many fantastic people out there. So
absolutely. Pick up the phone and call one of your buddies today, whoever, call somebody today. See how they're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, it works. A buddy of mine called yesterday.
It's true.
And we hung out and talked for I don't know, a couple hours, and he's going through a tough time. And, a lot of it had to do with me. He's going through such a tough time, Tom, that I really had to pause and I listened and just told him, I love you and I'm here for you and I'm praying for you, and you call me anytime you can. And that was the best I can do. You know what I'm saying?
A lot of times that's what people want. They want somebody just to talk to. Right? Don't judge me. Don't judge me. Don't give me your opinion necessarily. And I'm bad at that too. And I need to get better and better at it. I've gotten better at it, but it's that, I don't always have to fix somebody's problems. Maybe somebody just wants to talk to me. And so
yeah, that's it.
My empathy. I'm working on my empathy.
Oh my God. Can you spell it?
I told you the story, right?
No, of course. Yeah. You and empathy. That's probably, And that was probably your downfall on Survivor. What was it, like six episodes you made it?
Yeah.
How many did you make?
I got voted off in the sixth one. I think it was. I can't remember.
I think it was number 6. Yeah. I was shocked you lasted that long.
Well, it's funny, it's funny when you watch the show, you don't realize when you're doing it, all the things that people are saying about you behind your back. And they were after me for a while, and not after me. They were, my name was being thrown around.
Well, you had a target on your back, John.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're the old, big, muscular guy.
Yeah. I tried so hard to be like, calm down. But the first challenge we had, so typically on the challenges, they have a physical component first, and then there's a puzzle. And the theory is that you get your heart rate going and you're not thinking clearly because your heart rate's going higher. So you don't do as well in the puzzle, or you've got to contain yourself. So we had the first one we had, there's like this 30-foot high wall we had to get up, and there's small ropes at the top. So we have to build a human ladder to get up there. So before the challenge, I'm saying to myself, now calm down, don't stand out here. You just want to blend in with the crowd. You're not Tom Laidlaw, the captain of New York Rangers or something like that. You're a survivor player. Be smart. So we get to the wall, and I'm feeling myself, the adrenaline gets pumping, and I get to the bottom of the wall, and like 3 guys are standing on my back. And when I got to the bottom of the wall, I'm going, get on my back, get on my back. I'm yelling at them. So these 3 guys got up, now we get up, and this one girl, really nice girl, Krishma, when these 3 guys were on my back, she's thinking, she knows I'm 60 years old. She's thinking, man, he's going to collapse. So she's going, brace Tom. And I'm, no, get up the effing wall. Yeah. So we get done the challenge, and I'm just laughing at myself. Way to be calm, Tom. That's really good.
Yeah. Well, but listen, you're on an island with a bunch of people you don't know, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think you were eating a lot of food there, right?
Yeah, but there's no excuse. I know you're trying to be nice and give me excuses.
Listen, you're an animal. You have no empathy, okay? They're lucky you didn't kill somebody.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, there you go.
Great show. Again, 988 is that number. That's an important number. Everybody know that now. We do, Rich and I, in the same boat, a lot of this stuff on mental health and making ourselves better. And we're firm believers, like, don't listen to doctors tell you as you're getting older, you're going to fall apart. You are not. You can get better and better, learn things, get educated. We're here to help you. So, all right, brother. Good to see you again.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. See you next week.
Bye-bye.